Hey everyone, I'm Natasha. Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to this little behind the scenes photo shoot video and my first attempt at showing you a little bit of the editing process, what I do on the computer with these shots. So I'm here in front of my trusty gray backdrop on my new backdrop stand. I also have another new addition, this piece of styrofoam. It is, you can kind of see it over here a little bit. It's a white piece of insulation foam. And if you've seen some of my previous posts or videos, you know that I've complained about the very directional light in the living room where I shoot most of my self-portraits, or many of my self-portraits. There's a very big window over here, and that creates harsh shadows on this side. So I added this big white piece of styrofoam, and it's doing a fantastic job of reflecting light. It's pretty cheap, this piece. Well, on the mainland, we looked at a Lowe's on the mainland on their website. It was only $13 on the mainland. It was $19 here in Hawaii. But it's a fairly inexpensive photography accessory, especially when you compare it to the cost for the very large pop-up fabric reflectors. So if you are struggling with uneven lighting, I suggest that you introduce a reflector, and it doesn't have to be a real reflector. A piece of foam core is wonderful, or for something larger, just go to Lowe's or Home Depot and get a big piece of styrofoam insulation sheeting, and there you go, instant reflector. So the idea behind this picture is that we write our own stories, that our lives are a blank book, and that we can write on those pages what we will. So I'm going to be here with this book in front of my face. I don't really want my face in the photo because I want it to have a bit more of an anonymous feeling, like anyone could step into this role. So I'm going to be getting a few shots of the book static, and then also trying to sort of turn some of the pages so we can catch a little bit of the action. And going along with that theme of catching something in the action, which makes the photo a lot more interesting, I'm going to make sure to do something with my feet besides just stand here. Probably going to pop one foot up a little bit, add a little bit of tension to the legs as if maybe I'm stepping. I'll also get some shots that I may or may not use with a little bit of motion in my dress to give a bit of that feeling of captured action. And then I'm also going to do a little bit with my hair. So a lot of my hair will be blocked, but I'm going to get a few shots with my hair doing that number so that I can composite a little bit and have some motion in the hair. Because it doesn't make any sense to have the pages of a book flying open and have everything else just very static and standing there. Alright, so my intervalometer is set up and ready to go, so I'm going to get it started and take some photos. Alright, so now I'm just going to go take a look at those photos, bring them into the computer, and then I'll start the video back up again. Okay, so what I've done is imported my photos into Lightroom. You can see I have a lot of shots, which is a disadvantage to the way that I like to shoot with my intervalometer, but I just go through and delete them. So I've marked my favorite shots. I think I'm going to use this one as my base shot for the book and my hands and all that. And I have several interesting hair options. This one's a little, it might be blocked by the book, we'll have to see. This one I really like on this side, but of course there's nothing on the other side. And then I have some other shots that are marked over here as possibilities for hair here with lots of movement and dress. And I'm just going to play around to see which ones exactly I'm going to use. So I think I like this one a little bit better, so I'm going to go ahead and edit in Photoshop. And it may take a moment to load since I am also recording my screen, and that takes some processor. There we go. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to open up the other shots that I plan to use. Let's check on this one. Bring it into Photoshop. Now, if all of your shots are in a row, you can actually do open as layers in Photoshop, and that can be pretty convenient. But if that's not what you have going on, no problem. That one's too much. Okay, let's open this one. all you need to do is either copy and paste the layer, or you can just drag it over. It's very simple. I'm not sure this one's wanting to open. There we go. So I can show you here. It's very easy. All you need to do is just drag this layer over onto the tab and drop it on. And they're not quite lined up, so I'm just going to bring them in here. And what I did is change the opacity of this skirt layer here. I dropped the opacity down so I can see through it, and I can kind of try to line things up. Now they're not perfectly aligned at the waist. I'm going to come down here. It looks like I must have bumped my tripod, and I did also move, so things aren't lining up absolutely perfectly, but that isn't a huge problem. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like I'm a little bit closer actually in the one shot than I am in the other. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to come up here and look at my waist. And I think I'm actually just going to not worry about that too much and see what I can do, because it's not a big issue. So I'm going to drop it on there, and then a really quick and easy way, even if this one doesn't work out perfectly, this is a really easy technique that you can use. Bring that layer all the way back up to 100%, add your layer mask, then I'm going to take my brush, bring it to an opacity of 100%, make sure that I'm painting with black. I know this seems backwards, but I'm going to come in with black, and I'm going to completely erase the parts that I want to see. And I'll probably end up coming in and actually changing out the legs too, so I'll just go ahead and change the legs now. Yeah, I definitely did move a little bit. And the light changed as well, even though these shots were taken very close together, because that's Hawaii. Alright, so I erased a little bit extra up here. No problem. I can just come back in and paint it back on. Now, it seems like I'm doing this backwards. I just erased the things I want, but then it's super easy. You just come over and hit invert on your layer mask. And then suddenly, everything that I just painted black is now white. And so I'm seeing that skirt that I actually want. I'm also seeing that I have a little bit of extra arm right along in here. Not a big deal. One little problem area here that I might have to deal with. And if you have any trouble areas like this, it's easy. You just come in, you reduce the opacity of your brush, make sure that it's very soft, and just come in and blend away until you get things looking like you want. So clearly, because of this layer, I have this lightness here that's not what I'm looking for. My opacity is a little bit too low. So I'm going to try to take care of some of that lightness, but I probably don't want to take it all the way down the side, though I can check. Actually, right there I can probably get that. I just don't want things to get funny down here with the waist because of how the waist didn't actually fully line up. So if I get rid of that little shadow fold there in the dress, I can bring it on up to here, and up here I'm actually getting that original shot with the book, and down here I'm getting the shot with the skirt. And I just have to make sure though that the colors, the lightness isn't too out of whack. And this isn't a problem if you have more consistent lighting than I do. If you live somewhere where the lighting doesn't change constantly, So I'll just come back and work on that more later. But for rough, that's not too bad. And so there you go. Very easily have put this skirt on top of that image. Obviously there's more work to be done, but I just want to show you kind of quick and easy how I do that. And then with the hair, it'll be the exact same thing. I'm not sure this hair is even going to show up around the book, but we can try. So I'm going to do the same trick, lower the opacity, and then bring it down. And here, of course, I want to make sure that things like the top of my head are relatively aligned. So right there, the top of the head is aligned. And so I can see that I'll actually be able to catch some of this hair over here, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to do that exact same trick. And I'm going to end up bringing in too much of it. That's fine. I'm going to add my layer mask, 100% black opacity. And add away with some hair there. I've definitely brought in too much of it. Invert the mask, and then you come in and start adding back on the parts that you want. Now when you're doing things like this, you may actually want to come in and make your brush a little bit, a little bit hard. Otherwise you'll start to get a lot of weird, not very helpful feathering. So I suggest, although I normally really like soft brushes for things like this, that you actually do use a harder brush to make sure you get nice defined edges where you do want them. So over here, I'm going to have to be careful with my brush. It's a great example, because if I have a soft brush and it comes out too much, then there's going to be a weird gap in the hair, and that's not going to look very realistic. So I'm going to get in closer, and I might go over a little bit, see there? So here now, I'm going to have to come back in once again with my white and come right up to the edge with that harder brush to make it look more plausible, as if these were in fact just a single shot. So this isn't going to be a full editing tutorial, just a bit of a look at how I do compositing and some quick tips for your own composites. So I'm going to keep editing, and then after I get everything completed, I'll be doing my Friday photo share blog post. So make sure to stop by. The blog post is linked down below if you want to see the accompanying blog post about this image, color choices, and things of that nature. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy. See you next time.